Hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Your new album, 2013, is out soon. Do you have any personal favourite tracks on the album?
The album is like super varied. I think it's even more varied than anything we've done in the past. So there's so many different songs, or the songs are also different. It's like really hard to pick a favorite because they are all kind of dependent on the mood. But there's a track called Greek Fire, for instance, which is kind of a more of a metal track.
Okay.
That I think is pretty cool, and maybe the most standard, most recognizable Turisas song is probably a song called 10 More Miles, which is pretty cool too.
Cool.
So, but it's the whole album is, as I said, there's like songs that are softer and songs that are faster and songs that are heavier and songs that are more prog and songs that are more more like drinking songs and punk. So it's
Cool.
every song has its own place.
Brilliant. So what still inspires you, and do you ever struggle for ideas for songs?
Well, on this album, I guess the sort of red line was pretty much just to write songs and then kind of write them in a certain period of time, and we kind of rented an old house in a very sort of isolated surrounding where we recorded a lot of, and the whole album was very much about kind of being a product of its time and being right there. So I guess coming up with ideas for songs was something that all the ideas was kind of ideas that were kind of somehow bubbling in my head around that time, 2012 and early this year, 2013. But there's also some ideas that sort of been around already since the previous record. Songs like, for instance, Run Bangita Run, which is a song based on a couple of stories, like loosely based on a couple of stories from the 1001 Arabic Nights. But the kind of stories that Disney didn't quite include. There's some quite rough stuff about sex and nudity and drugs and all sorts of stuff going on in the 1001 Arabic Nights collection that have been sort of smoothed down later on to suit kind of made more family friendly. So it's like everything comes from very various directions. It might be something like this or something historical, or it might be something very topical and modern day, like the financial crisis or the whole direction of the world today.
Okay. So you head out on a tour of the UK soon. What can we expect from your shows? Can we expect fire and brimstone?
Well, usually our shows are, first of all, really lively and energetic, and especially in the UK, I think people love to go out, and when they go out, they love to have a great time as well. And I think we're the perfect band for that because, whereas we have like very sort of epic and serious material, we also have more kind of loose-hearted party material we play at shows. So it's sort of something for everyone, whether you're in a mood for standing there enjoying the music, or whether in the mood for having a few beers and just having a great time and a laugh. You're gonna get it all at our show. But right now we are working on kind of upgrading, for instance, like the light show a bit for the autumn tour and stuff like that. And we also have had some lineup changes in the band, and the new band and rhythm section is like super tight and everything. So it's really a pleasure to.
You recently played Download. How was the experience compared with the last time you played there? Because I think the last time it was floods and everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we played 3 times at Download now. We played in 2007 when we opened the main stage. Then that was amazing, like huge, the biggest show we ever played up to that point, I think. And then 2000, what would have been, maybe 9?
9, I think it was, yeah.
9 or
10, was it? I know it was like downpour, wasn't it?
Pouring rain. We played the second stage, and it was the whole weekend. I think it just rained Hell, but it was kind of, I actually slipped on stage. I think you can find a clip on YouTube, me falling over on the stage, and there was a lot of people in the crowd with umbrellas and raincoats and everything, but I think when we came on stage, we really got them moving, and for those 40 minutes we were on stage, they didn't really care about the rain, so that was a challenge, and it was cool. But this time around, we played a much later slot on the third stage, I think, the 10th, and I think that sort of intimate setting, not being on a huge open air stage, but kind of close surroundings, worked really well for us, because it sort of tightened up the audience and the people a bit, and made it sort of, it was maybe easier to get in the mood. If you only play like half an hour, it was still sort of high energy, and I had a really good time. Download is great.
That's brilliant. Did you get to hang around for the whole festival, or did you have to go after your set?
We went there. We were only there for the day we played. Unfortunately, obviously there would have been a lot of bands worth seeing. We actually only managed to catch a bit of our country fellows' hymns.
Right.
That was closing the same stage we played against Slipknot, which probably pulled everybody else. But no, unfortunately, we missed Iron Maiden and all of that. We were actually in London at the time, because we were Jussi, our guitar player, and me were actually staying over for the Metal Hammer Awards, which was held on Monday, and we played on Friday, I think. So we had a few days of gap in between, but we had to go to London to meet some meetings and shit like that. So,
so when you started out, did you ever believe that battle metal would be such a success as it quite clearly is?
Well, not really. I mean, when we started out, there wasn't anything like a scene like it is today. We were just an unknown band from Finland doing kind of a unique sounding material. I mean, I know we realized at the time when we were working on the debut that this is the kind of music that nobody else is really doing. But at the same time, there was also other bands, quite a few of them actually from Finland, that were, didn't really sound the same, but I guess their sort of pack of influences were somewhat common to ours, and as it turned out, we ended up sharing some common ground musically, and in the end, we ended up sharing a lot of stages together, doing a lot of tours together with bands like Moonsorrow or Fintroll or Ensiferum and so on, Korpiklani as well, and become good friends with everybody in these bands and everything. But it's so different right now, because now all of a sudden all these bands have sort of established themselves as bands who do their own touring, and sometimes we sort of get together and do tours together, or play at festivals at least, and it's like a fairly big scene and everything, folk metal, battle metal, Viking metal, whatever you want to call it. But when we started out, no, I mean, there was really nothing like it. There was some pioneering bands with some from Norway, some from Ireland and the UK, kind of mixing more like Celtic influences into metal and stuff, but that was pretty small scale compared to what it's turned out to be today. So yeah, it's been quite an amazing ride.
Hey, what's up people? This is DJ Chippy from the Metal Gods Rock Show. You can catch me every Monday night between the hours of 7 and 9 on Radio Teesdale, www.radioteesdale.co.uk. The 2 hours of the best in rock and metal. We've got new releases, we've got interviews, we've got the classic stuff for you as well. Make it a date in your diary every Monday night between 7 and 9. Don't forget the name, the Metal Gods Rock Show.
Party and learn some history at the same time with your band, so you can't go wrong, can you? So before you go onto the stage, what goes through your head like 5 minutes before? Do you have to like get really psyched up, or just by putting the wall paint on, are you already in that sort of zone?
I think for us, we don't really have any pre-show routine, basically, because we have the obviously doing all our shows in that becomes the pre-show routine is that it's about 90 minutes, 1 hour before the set stage time. We sort of more or less lock ourselves into a dressing room together with the band only and throw out all the others and start sort of focusing on the show. Usually like kind of take it pretty relaxed and not stress too much and try to keep the atmosphere good and basically have a laugh and open a few beers and take it from there. But I guess that whole kind of being together with the band just before going on stage and getting into costume is also kind of this sort of part of getting into that stage persona or role, if you may, and you know it helps with that. It's kind of easier to fall back when you have the kind of costume and the face paint and everything. It's not like the person walking up on stage, even if you don't we're not there to really play a role. We're not sort of actors in a way, or don't see us as actors, but it's just that whole having that visual side to the band makes it sort of easier for ourselves to step outside our kind of civilian self in a way and kind of take it to the next level in some way.
Cool. Okay. I love the finished summer with Turisas DVD. I know it's quite old now, isn't it? But would you consider doing something similar in the future? Because I absolutely think it's brilliant.
Yeah, we could do the Finnish winter and spring and autumn series as well. Ice fishing and what do they have, like husky sleds and stuff like that. It was fun doing the DVD, but as you said, like it's pretty old now. I think we did it in 2008, so it's like 5 years old now.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, well, I haven't really watched it for a long time. I think the shows are still. I mean, the DVD is like half of it is kind of a documentary of the festivals we are doing that summer, and half of it is the live footage, multi-camera footage from the shows. And I think it was great doing that because it's kind of a time trip to that era of the band, and we as a band who are kind of constantly evolving and changing album by album and moving forward. It's nice to have that kind of as a memory and souvenirs of that era in the band's career and what we were doing back then. But there hasn't really been any sort of serious plans to make a DVD at this stage. But to be honest, I don't know. We just finished our 4th album and it's coming out right now. And it's been way too early to. We don't have any sort of plans apart from touring, of course. But for releasing whatever we'll release, that's something that we'll start thinking about maybe in 6 months from now. What's going to happen next? We don't really have that sort of settled yet.
Okay. Your fans are very loyal. Have you had any really strange requests from any fans? What's the strangest one ever, would you say?
Well, we've been seriously asked to marry people. We get invites to parties in South American countries, like with the address and all the sort of information how to get there and everything. And sometimes it feels a bit far out.
Yeah.
But I think it was actually one of our really first UK tours we did. We're actually supporting the Finnish band Lordi. That was actually the year they had just won the Eurovision.
Right.
And we were doing maybe 5 shows in the UK with them. And I think it was in Manchester, behind the Manchester Academy. We had just come off stage and we had our costumes on. I had this big sword we were having carrying with us on the tour because that was sort of kind of a prize for a competition we had on that tour. Mm-hmm. And there was this guy who came up to me and asked me to cut off this very long ponytail and hair with sword, which I did. So he got a haircut from a long-haired guy to short hair done by me in full stage costume with a sword.
That's brilliant. That's pretty amazing, actually. Personally, then, away from Turisas, do you have any other projects ongoing, or do you just concentrate 100% on Turisas?
The band is pretty much the number one for everybody. I think I'm personally most involved with the band all the time because I write most of the songs, and I'm doing most of the interviews and also kind of dealing with all the nonsense that has nothing to do with music a lot, which eats up a lot of time. I guess, like, unfortunately, the kind of artistic side of being in a band is only a few percent, and the rest is just the same as for everyone, like emails and all sorts of stuff going on. But so for me, it's definitely a full-time operation, and some of the guys in the band do some shows with some other bands. Like, we have some of the newer guys are kind of professional musicians. They're like session musicians, so they play in the kind of backing bands for some pop artists in Finland and stuff like that too. So it's great because kind of having that variety in musicianship also benefits us, and we can do stuff that maybe is a bit outside the box of a normal metal band. So.
Okay.
But we are touring about half the time of the year. We are on the road somewhere, so obviously everybody is pretty dedicated to the band.
So, what music do you listen to while you're on the road, and what's currently on your iPod?
I'm actually really bad at carrying music with me to places. I don't really have an iPod or anything like that. I don't know really why. I guess mostly because I'm usually working so much with music that I don't really even kind of have the energy to listen to music. When we were working with this album for like more than a year, I think we finished it off in May or so, and it's only been like now in the summer I've been listening to some music because the year while we were sort of busy with the album, I didn't really listen to anything.
Right.
But right now I actually have been listening to today, for instance, I was listening to, there's a Finnish band called Barren Earth,
Right.
who have an album out this year that's been released this year called The Devil's Resolve, and I found that to be a very sort of, I haven't listened a lot to metal, mainly because usually metal is very conservative and boring, and it's not really offering, unfortunately there's not that much metal that comes out that's really exciting in any way, but this album by Barren Earth was actually a great mix of kind of proggy, kind of Kingston Wall kind of stuff with death metal. It definitely sounds, there's a Finnish band called Amorphis who had an album called Energy in the mid-90s, which is still one of my favorite albums, and this Barren Earth band has a few members who used to play in Amorphis in those days, and you can definitely hear the similarity, and it does have a lot of similarities. But I mean, outside of metal, most of the time it's just any kind of music, like anything from Lana Del Rey to Sostakovich, and it might be anything basically.
Cool.
But I quite enjoy actually listening to some indie radio stations, because you might sometimes find music that you wouldn't sort of encounter or come across otherwise. So when I'm home, I mostly listen to a station called Radio Helsinki, which is an indie radio station, the last one in Finland that's sort of just playing anything there is basically, and has that sort of radio, the sort of tradition of proper radio journalism and everything, and I quite like that, and I would be very sad to see that disappear under all this sort of commercial radio.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, we're really looking forward to your invasion of England, well, the UK, saying that. Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans and our listeners?
Well, I mean, the UK has always been like one of the best territories in the world for us, and that's actually something that has surprised us, but also our label and a lot of fans. It's actually quite interesting that a band from Finland can make it so well we really like the humor and the vibe in Britain. So
Yeah.
it's always good fun playing shows. So it'll be back in, what is it, October?
Yeah.
Early October we'll be back for 5 shows, and the new album Turisas 2013 is going to be out on September 2nd.
Can't wait. Really can't wait.
Hey, what's up, metalheads? This is DJ Chippy from the Metal Gods Rock Show. You are listening to the Metal Meltdown with the legend that is Mr. Sebastian Martino Di Gatto. He rocks.
Hi, this is Matthias Nygård from Turisas, and you're listening to the Metal Meltdown.